Welcome to the Tamworth FC Social. This time we look ahead to the Lambs' final match before Christmas and look back on the club's matches so far in December. So, shall we start with the positives from December? So, obviously, the month began with that win at Burton, which seems a long time ago now, um, and also progressing in the FA Trophy and the Birmingham Senior Cup. So it's been an interesting month, Graham. I think we've got to be satisfied so far, given the opposition's been very strong.
Yeah, we've obviously progressed very nicely in the cup competitions, which in recent years we've not really done too well in. Obviously, the FA Cup's been brilliant, and a lot's been said about that, so I probably won't go too much into it myself. Things like the Birmingham Senior Cup, it's a bit of a non-event really, but I suppose it gets players minutes. Why not go for a run in it if we can? FA Trophy, yeah, bit more interesting. There's a chance again for Wembley there, more money coming into the club, and arguably that was a tough task having to go to Hartlepool on a Tuesday night after it got postponed on a Saturday, and yeah, got the job done on penalties quite nicely, to be perfectly honest. So then obviously we've had York City last weekend, and that was a really good point at home. Don't think you can complain about that. You got obviously a Rochdale game. I'm sure we'll come on to on Tuesday as well. But there's obviously some very tough games coming up in December. So from a cup point of view, yeah, got to be satisfied with all of that. From a league point of view, the bread and butter, then I suppose the games have only really just begun as we enter this Christmas period.
Bit of a Brucey bonus, Brett, I thought, getting through in the FA Trophy because we kind of got very swept up with the FA Cup game, and then you get another sort of, I suppose it is a bit of a shock going to Hartlepool away and winning, two cup shocks in quick succession.
Yeah, it's a chance for the club to get to Wembley a day out. It was a real welcome further morale booster. The fact that again Singh saved two of the penalties, and it was different penalty takers that scored against Hartlepool than scored against Burton, so that's good as well. So out of those two games, real good cup wins, and then we've learned quite a bit about the squad that we wouldn't have known otherwise because I can't remember the last time we had a penalty shootout actually. Probably haven't as that collective because when we've been in a situation where we've gone to penalties.
Certainly getting very good at it, aren't they? And what I thought was very pleasing is a lot of character shown in some of the games in December, like very late goal to equalise at Hartlepool. Very well, it was quite a late goal as well at home to York as well, wasn't it? Like it's the kind of the graft, I suppose, side of the team, isn't it, Graham?
Yeah, 100%. I think both games we played well. The Hartlepool game was probably one of well for me from watching it was one of the best performances I've seen from us away from home all season. I thought we were really good value for it. We played really well. And yeah, it was that was a good win in terms of getting through that. But then yeah, the York victory as well was good, and the lads just kept going, as you say. I think it's always that thing when they say stay in the game, stay in the game, and it's very much so with this Tamworth side that we've got things in our armory which mean that we can instantly we can go up the other end of the field and hit a team on the break and get something with our pacey wingers with the long throw, etc. And it was evident again on Tuesday night that could have been the case. We very much, if we'd have kept it as it was, 11 men on the field, that probably could well have happened again. So yeah, it's credit really to them to just keep going because they've obviously got belief that they know they can go and win the game of football. I think sometimes we start games quite slowly and then they grow into them as we believe like, oh, okay, yeah, actually, we don't need to be frightened of these teams because we're as good as them, but in a different kind of way.
Suppose the main talking point after the Rochdale game on Tuesday was that red card, wasn't it? And I've sort of made an effort this week to kind of listen to every interview, watch every bit of footage I can of it, and it still seems to be kind of a talking point in terms of what actually happened. And I was listening to the post-match interview with Neil Shamplovia, and he said the club is going to appeal it, which probably tells you all you need to know about what they think. You went, didn't you, Graham, to Rochdale? What do you remember about the red card, and sort of that aside, what was your assessment of the game?
If I'm perfectly honest, I don't, not a fat lot in terms of why he got a red card. And there's obviously been enough said about it and written about it over the last sort of few days. Overall, aside from that, it ruined the game for Tamworth, if I'm perfectly honest. Rochdale were a good passing side, they had a lot of the ball. But Tamworth were quite comfortable, really. They limited them in the first half, but when Tamworth went forward, they looked dangerous. And it was that same thing again. They were growing into the game. And yeah, I mean, if it had stayed 11 men, could we have got a draw? That would probably, and that would have been a good result for us. I'd have taken a 0-0 all day on that. Could we have nicked it? Maybe. I mean, Tonks did even hit the bar at 0-0, and we were down to 10 men then with was an outrageous free kick. So yeah, it just became a non-event after that sending off, and I don't even think it was necessarily the being down to 10 men that completely ruined us. It was um, the fact that the nature of the sending off and what it was, and I think the players were just so angry about it. And you could see that at the end, they were distraught when they came over and clapped the fans. So, they put in a shift, and they were unlucky, if I'm perfectly honest. On another day, it could have gone another way.
I think the emotion I took from immediately after the incident in the highlights was like just disbelief. Like every Tamworth player seemed to be like totally sort of shocked by the decision. But yeah, I did enjoy Brett the Tom Tonks effort, which hit the bar. I just sort of he sort of never ceases to amaze me really in terms of what he can conjure up sometimes. I quite like it. It's like a cheeky effort, I think, especially when you've just gone down to 10 men and you're away from home as well. But it's another game where the goal difference has taken a bit of a beating, isn't it?
Yeah. After the Oldham away fixture, obviously we said that if we could get to 25 points by Christmas, we'd probably be happy. And we've done that. We're on 26, which is great. And if we'd have said at the start of the season that we'd be on 26 points before Christmas, I mean, we might go and beat Sutton on Saturday and then on 29. It's just that goal difference that's just constantly getting eaten away, isn't it? And at the end of the day, if we stay above that bottom four, it doesn't matter if we finish on a goal difference of -50. But I don't really think that the goal difference does us justice for how solid we actually are at times.
But I mean, overall, Graham, I think I said at the start, like pretty content, I would say. We've had the same as going, especially looking at the league table. I mean, I don't think Tamworth are really much worse off than when the month started, really, and they've played a load of big teams.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I think we've got to be content, as Brett said. Like that points tally we've got at the moment is good. Um, and if we somehow creep our way towards 30 points by the end of the year, somehow, which I think is possible, with home fixtures, then that would be a very, very good return. Well, they say 40 points don't need to survive, but I think it was more than that in this league last season. But I mean, what I would say is that some of the teams down there I have a feeling that points tally won't necessarily be needed this year with some of the teams that are down there and the performances. I mean, Ebbsfleet are completely out of it. I think they've only won once all season. Boston United, I can't see them turning it around. And then it's kind of the ones that above are sort of fairly inconsistent. So it might be that you could get to that 40-point mark and you only need a certain amount more to just about keep yourself above. But I'm sure that Andy Peaks has a target in mind. But I'd imagine that it's probably exceeding his expectations at the moment where we are.
There has, since our last episode, been a signing, that of Jordan Ponticelli. What are your thoughts, Brett? A decent signing this stage of the season?
Yeah, obviously, again, listening to Peaks, he said that at the end of the pre-season campaign, when he was on trial with us, he'd obviously been carrying an injury, and he'd said to Jordan to go out and prove that he was back up to fitness. He's in really good form for Hales, Owen. He looked okay, I thought, in pre-season. He's from the area. Obviously, he's played for Coventry Academy as he was growing up. So, and he looked decent when he played against us for Kings Lynn last season as well. So I think, given a bit of time, I think he could do a job. I think between him, Creaney, and Ray, that's something really good to mix it up because he's like a more agile version of Dan Creaney. I think you look at Ray, the problem with when we play Chris Ray up top, if we were to play him on his own, we like a direct game, and he's not tall enough for us to play that direct route. Whereas Ponticelli, towards the dying parts of the game, Creaney's looking tired, for example, we can bring him on to mix it up.
Played as well, didn't he, for Wrexham when they finished second in the National League? So maybe he can bring about that Hollywood razzle dazzle to Tamworth. Are you excited, Graham, by his signing? It seems like a good addition.
Yeah, yeah, it is a good addition. Like Brett said, he's someone who's on the up, and he's keen to play for us. Pete said that he's been training with us on Mondays and stuff, and I think he's almost he's gone to Halesoe to prove that he can come back and play at this level. But he's been there and done it before. Yeah, it looks like a good signing. Could be quite a shrewd signing as we move to the second half of the season. If someone like a Dan Creaney does get injured or we do need another option, then we have that. I mean, I didn't know much about the way he plays and what top type of player he is. It's interesting to hear what Brett said there about him being a little bit more agile than say Creaney. I think, to be honest, just on Dan Creaney, I think he's been in terrific form lately, and he even at Rochdale on Tuesday night, he wins absolutely everything in the air and his hold up play, and it's a lot of things that go unnoticed. I think with him more recently, but he works so hard for the team as well. So, yeah, it's good. It's good to have another option, and I think Miracle. I'm glad that he's gone out on loan, to be honest, and he's going out and getting some game time and some valuable game time at a club like Brackley, where I think they're quite enjoying him being there and reading what their fans are saying. I think he's doing a good job. So hopefully we don't lose him because I think he's probably someone that's got potential. He looked good in pre-season as well, and he comes back in and he challenges the three guys that we got. We got three pretty decent strikers right now, to be perfectly honest. Chris Ray's been coming on and being really effective and scoring goals and looking dangerous. So I mean, he must be itching to start, but it's pretty hard to get Dan Creaney out of the side at the moment. So yeah, I'm really happy with that with signing.
I think what's also good with these signings as well is, look, we're a part-time team, and I think that actually a sign of a good team or a good ethos is we're going out actively looking and recruiting players. So when you're part-time, you can suffer sometimes because you don't get that time together where you end up being a bit predictable. So bringing in new players, you get to switch it up a little bit more as well.
Being proactive, I think, isn't it? With a signing like Ponticelli, you sort of you freshen the sort of squad up before it needs freshening, almost.
Yeah, that is Brett raises a good point there as well. I think because what I've noticed is that this season, but like last season, it was very much like we continued as we were because we were on such good momentum and we didn't need to change things. The squad was big enough, and can't really remember many signings that really came in other than the chap from Kidderminster towards the end on loan, get centre back. But it's like this season, I think Andy Peaks has used the loan market really, really shrewdly.
Next up for Tamworth then is Sutton United, who they of course played in the first game of the National League season. Sutton, as it stands, are 2 points off the playoffs in 11th place, but they haven't won in their last two league games. Are you feeling confident, Brett? Again, that seems like a long time ago when Tamworth got that 1-1 draw on the opening day.
Yeah, but I think probably both teams are different teams to what they were on the opening day. They've been probably indifferent with their form over the course of the last 4 months. Yeah, you look at the different combinations and players that we've played. Uh, we've probably not played that starting 11 since the second game in. I know we didn't make any changes after the first Sutton game, but probably since then, I don't think we've played the same team. So um, it could go either way, really. I think the fact that we've also got the trophy game literally 2 weeks straight after is kind of going to be one of those really where I think for our point of view, it's not the easiest coach journey for them down to South London. And then for them to be thinking that they've got to go and do it again 2 weeks later, I don't know how it could go really. Ironically, I could probably see us getting a better result in the trophy than I could in the league. And I would probably rather it the other way. But I think by the time we go again, we would have sized the place up, would have got used to how they play. Again, it will probably be a mix of different kind of squads the two teams play. Yeah, I just think it'll be a very different kind of game than it was in August.
I echo your thoughts about maybe the trophy result might be more positive than Saturday for some reason. I don't know. What about you, Graham? Thoughts, Sutton?
It's interesting you guys say that about the trophy potentially getting a win. I'm wondering if that's because the players feel less pressure when they're playing the FA Trophy rather than the league or a cup. I mean, you look at certain season, it's not been brilliant. Considering they came down from League Two last season, they're not like a Forest Green where they're challenging towards the top of the league. They've been very much in mid-table. They've had some quite indifferent results. The home form's quite well, yeah, fairly average, but certainly below ours. So I don't think we've got to go there with anything to worry about. It's certainly not the best side that we were going to have played this season. And we got a point at home, but as Brett says, probably two very different teams from what we was at the start of the season. So yeah, I think we've got to go there with confidence. It's not like going to an Oldham or a Rochdale with a big ground. Sutton got into League Two and are punching above their weight, really. No disrespect to them at all. But they've been a non-league club. It's only really in the last few years that they've been in that National League. And so, yeah, I think they're obviously a full-time outfit and all those things that we talk about. But we just do our usual thing, got to go there and play our game and put our stamp on the game. I think that the one thing that I keep seeing is like we need to have like belief at the start of the games that we can go there and just put it on them really. Because when we do, we're really effective. It's really that having that belief from the start. I think sometimes we don't realise, and then we go a goal down away from home, and then it becomes a problem, or just about stay in the game and we've got something out of it. So yeah, I think they've got to take strength from like the Hartlepool game and bits and bobs of the Rochdale game to say, right, well, we can go and get a result here, 100%.
I still feel like there's momentum, rolling on from previous matches, and I'd probably put Sutton in like the second sort of group of teams, if that makes sense, in the National League. Like I agree, they're
Yeah.
not quite Oldham, Barnet, or even York level for me. Probably more on the level of maybe Rochdale or someone like that. In terms of like fear factor, if that's the right expression of it, or like quality
Mm,
of the opponent.
yeah.
Right, shall we do some predictions? So it's been a little while, so there'll be a few results for us to go through. So in our mini league, it's a point for a correct result, 3 points for a correct scoreline. None of us predicted the result at Hartlepool in the FA Trophy, as that ended 1-1 and went to penalties. We all predicted a defeat at Rochdale, but none of us said 3-0, which puts me on 27 points. Graham is on 14 and Brett is on 10. What are you saying, Graham, for Sutton United away?
When we asked this the other day on the text, I might change my mind. I'm going to try and be a bit more optimistic, and I'm going to say 1-1.
So you did say 2-1, didn't you, the other day?
Yeah.
I've also said 1-1. I'm not going to change it as I sometimes do to be different. As I think for the last like 2 weeks been thinking 1-1, probably because that's how it finished back in August. And what about you, Brett?
I'm going to go for 2-0 loss, purely because the last couple of times I've predicted heavy defeats, other than Rochdale, we've actually done okay. So I'm happy to take the hit on my points if the team gets real points on the board.
I'm very generous of you. We will leave it there for this episode of the Tamworth FC Social. Thank you for listening. You can follow us on social media at TFC Social Pod. And if you enjoy the podcast, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and give this episode a like. Until next time, goodbye.